Hi, fans of high quality entertainment. I've done, as you know, as some of you know, a lot of videos on the worst album covers of all time. Fun videos to do, and they usually get a lot of good feedback and views. And today, I thought I would gather together 25 of the worst album covers ever. Of course, worst album covers, there's different opinions, but I did a bit of research this time. I did some work, and I just kept noticing certain albums would appear in these lists. And so I've gathered up, like I said, 25 of them. There's more, I'm sure I'm missing some pretty bad album covers, but these were 25 that were in a lot of lists. And some of them were, I was kind of surprised they were in the list, but they're included. And what I've done is I've ranked them from what I consider, an album cover that actually isn't too bad at 25 to number one, which I agree with some of these music sites as the worst album cover for a classic rock artist. So here we go. And also, I would be curious what album, maybe two or three album covers that aren't in this particular list, you think should have been included. Here we go. So, yeah, this is one of the album covers I was surprised to see in more than one list. Pink Floyd's Uma Guma. I've always loved this album cover. I don't know about you, but I just think, it's interesting. So it's number 25. I like it. Number 24. Yeah, Led Zeppelin's Presence. It's a very, especially when it came out in 1977, was it? It was kind of strange, right? And then the other photos in the album. But still, I think it's kind of an eerie album cover. It's like, what's going on there? And what is that object? Does anybody know what that's all about? Let me know in the comment section below. But I wouldn't consider that one of the worst album covers ever. Number 23. The Beatles. The White Album. I know there are some, Beatles fans that think this is a really bad album cover. But when it came out in 1968, it was, the total opposite of, Sgt. Pepper and Magical Mystery Tour. It was all white, except for the embossed The Beatles. And, the albums were numbered back in 1968. And then, of course, inside there was the posters and the photos of each of the Beatles. So I just, I personally always thought that was a very cool and very, very different album cover because, in the late 60s, everybody was doing these really fancy album covers, and, the Beatles did the exact opposite. And I also wonder what was that the first embossed album cover? I'm sure, maybe it wasn't, but I should have done some research on that. If anybody knows, let me know in the comment section below. Billy Joel, River of Dreams. And this artwork was done by his wife at the time, Christy Brinkley. And I've always really liked this artwork. Maybe it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I certainly wouldn't consider it a bad album cover. But you can disagree with me, and that's okay. Number 21. Uriah Heep, very heavy, very humble. And that is the lead singer, David Byron, all in cobwebs and everything. It's, not the greatest album cover, but it's certainly, for for a heavy metal kind of or hard rock album cover, I guess it's kind of suitable, and I've certainly seen worse, as you will see coming up. Number 20. Yeah. So this was the original Three Dog Night album cover for Hard Labor. It is very, disturbing, but it's also kind of, like sick humor. And I'm a fan of some sick humor. And so I thought it was so over the top, ridiculous that I don't mind it. It's, he's giving birth to a vinyl record. And then after that was released, it was quickly covered up. And I never don't remember seeing the original in the album in the record stores, but this one I definitely did see with the bandage over top. A little less offensive. Number 19. Yes, still, I wouldn't consider these bad album covers. Alice Cooper, Hey Stupid. Uh, Not his best album cover either, but I've seen worse. But like I said, this was on more than one list when I was doing my research. Now they're starting to get bad. Yeah, the Rolling Stones, Goat's Head Soup, just kind of a pointless album cover. Never been a fan of it. Number 17, Bee Gees. As some of you know, I did 2 videos on the Bee Gees yesterday. Cucumber Callus, of course, Robin Gibb had gone off for his solo career, so it was just Maurice and Barry Gibb. Not the most exciting album cover, but I wouldn't say it's one of the worst. Number 16, Roger Daltrey, Ride a Rock Horse. They're starting to get bad now. Number 15, Queen the Miracle. I know some fans of Queen actually do like this album cover, but I've never been a fan of it. Number 14. Oh, and once again, when I did when this was included in one of those series of worst album covers, there were people, of course, attacking me for having included it. It's just my opinion and, other people's opinions that it's a bad album cover. But some fans of Black Sabbath actually like this album cover. I don't. Number 13. First of all, the text is kind of hard to read. Journey and escape. For some reason, the A is a 4, and the E at the end is a 3. And I really don't know what's going on there, and I really don't want to know. But I've seen worse album covers, and they're coming up. Number 12. Yeah, REO Speedwagon. You can tune a piano, but you can't tune a fish. Get it? Stupid. Number 11. Yeah, Fleetwood Mac has a few pretty bad album covers, and this is one of them. Mystery to Me. I don't know what's going on there. Let's move on. The top 10. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but if I was a fan of Orleans back in the 70s, I would not be caught dead carrying around that album. I don't know about you, but I'm talking about the 70s, right? Yeah, I did pick a few of these that weren't included in these lists, including this one, which probably isn't some worst album covers lists. It's in mine. So I was I am. I'm a big fan of Grand Funk. But I remember when I first saw this album in the record store and I saw that cover, it's like I said to myself, I ain't buying that. Yeah. Number 8. Another Fleetwood Mac, Heroes Are Hard to Find. Just very, very odd. Number 7. Scorpions, Fly to the Rainbow. Your typical, yeah, there's lots of heavy metal album covers that are kind of like that, I guess, but that was in the list. Number 6. That certainly isn't like Fragile or Relayer. Going for the one. That is not a Roger Dean album cover. Great album, though. Number 5. Who here wants to see Ted Nugent in a loincloth? No? It's too late anyway. All right, number 4. Yes, it's Yes Again. Once again, I don't think Roger Dean did this album cover. It's just, certainly not the worst, but for Yes, it's such a boring, stupid album cover. Here are the top 3. These are all really bad. Number 3. Pantera, Metal Magic. And I guess that's their mascot. That's on their other album covers too. But it's just kind of, at least for me, it's laughable. Number 2. I picked this one, although it was on one of the lists. Yeah, Crosby, Stills, Nash, Live It Up with a bunch of hot dogs in outer space. But number 1, what do you think is number 1? There can only be one worst album cover of all time in rock music. And this is it. You can't argue with me because it's the worst. Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Love Beach. It's just not comparable to Brain Salad Surgery. And yeah, so. But, the thing is, every time I look at this album cover, I smile, and then I giggle a little bit, and I roll my eyes. But yeah, that's it. That's my number 1 choice, and a lot of other, like I said, this album cover is always in these worst album covers of all time lists. And that is it. Please remember to like the video. Looking forward to some comments below. And what are some album covers that weren't included in my top 25 list? Let me know. Make sure you're subscribed too. Thank you. Have a great day. I love you all.